Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sarvamega. Thanks for joining Biodynamic Farming Workshop. So this is ongoing workshop series, and this is our episode 3. And Lohit is here to share details about it. Lohit?
Good morning, everybody. So today, on popular decision, because of we have a poll every time that we.
Lohit, your voice is not that audible.
Okay.
Can you make it loud?
Yeah. One sec.
Yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, after the poll we created the last time, we realized that most of the members, or we had the most votes for the miracle of fermentation, and for making liquid manures and urban composting. And slight tips and tricks here and there as well. Things that you can practice at your home, wherever you stay, whether it's in a rain-fed environment, whether it's a dry space. So Jayanti, is it okay if I can just start in?
Yeah, Lohit, sorry. But I think your volume is still need to be increased. Yeah, it's not that audible. Yeah.
I think it should be better now. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Good. Good to go.
So before I start with the actual process of fermentation and its benefits and how it's been used, I'd like to ask you to come on a journey with me. So from the Neolithic times, that was circa 10,000 BC, we have been practicing agriculture as a primary form and foraging. So we had moved on from foraging. This is the early Stone Age we're talking about. We had moved on from foraging up to creating our own pastures and animal husbandry to take care of the farms and grow our own crops. Now, since those times, certain methods have completely vanished to history due to a lot of different geographical, political factors, but also some methods have remained throughout history. One of those methods was fermentation. Now, in essence, what we know of fermentation, what we learn in school, is that fermentation is basically when any microorganism is able to transform glucose or sugar into energy using the enzymes present within it. And usually that's all we get to know in the primary schooling. But then in secondary schooling, we learn more about how energy is transformed in the mitochondria of our cells and in eukaryotes and prokaryotes when it's there. So in that, we realize that it's much more involved in the Krebs cycle, for example. Or if you take, for example, when fermentation is utilized in our own anaerobic processes. Interestingly, what we know of fermentation has been mostly outside of ourselves and outside of our day-to-day life. But anyone who is more intent and knows more about swimming and even pranayama and meditation has gone deeper will realize that fermentation occurs in each and every one of us as well. In fact, it's only brushed upon maybe half a sentence in your entire biology, in your entire zoological book in anatomy, where it says anaerobic processes happen within the cytoplasm of the cell. And aerobic respiration transforms energy within the mitochondria of the cell. So when you're looking at anaerobic respiration, that is also fermentation, because there is transformation of sugars or glycolysis, as we say, into energy, that we get two ATPs out of one sugar, one glucose molecule, two net ATP. But in aerobic respiration, we get about 36. So this is just an example. But when it is so involved in our own being, of course, it is going to be involved in every other living being that we find in nature as well. Now, plants, especially, they require the support of living beings in order to perform said activities more efficiently, and that support helps them in providing the nutrients to themselves, for them through the soil. So these buffers, these, I don't like the word middlemen, these helpers and supporters, the ones who help in the structural aspect and also in providing, in nurturing and giving, work on not just on the macroscopic but also on the microscopic level through fermentation as well. Now, one another constant from the Neolithic era, from those days, were cows. I agree that the size and the majesty of the cows which were there 10,000 BC, the majesty of the cows that were there at 10,000 BC are not quite what you'd see now in most urban areas. But no, in certain species, definitely like the gear, are still having that majesty, still are huge. They stand about 6 feet tall. So, but most cows, if you see on the roads nowadays, they don't really grow that big, even adult cows. Not just because of the lack of nutrition, but also in a way to adapt to the scenario around them. Now, why I speak of cows? Because cows are one of the main contributors to the fermentation process that we find in agriculture. In the cow dungs is beneficial microbes, not just within the lower stomach in the probiotic sense, but also within the cow dung itself throughout its digestive period. So what happens there is the it provides a lot of lactobacilli. There is also astrococcus. There's a lot of helpful bacteria whose enzymes help transform the organic matter around them, decompose them into nutrients that plants can easily imbibe. So along with the microbial activity, what else provides fermentation? Now, in agriculture, I spoke about how cow dung is helping. Also, there are different manures that help as well. We'll speak about that in a little while. But what we know of fermentation as civilization started, I feel, a little later, and it shows even in Indus Valley civilization, what we know of it, the Harappan era. The Ayurveda shows that medicated wines were used as supplements for your immune system, for ailments such as fever, such as bad appetite, such as severe illnesses caused by poisons. So there was a lot of usage of medicated wines, which were fermented with the plants around the medicinal plants around them, which is also found in the Ayurveda. So on the topic of wines, also fermented rice as well. Thank you, Jayanti. So that as well as a probiotic, as an immunosupplement, that's been there for thousands of years now in our own in our own history, and we still use it to date. So like that in Europe, there was the era of the medieval times, before pre 1700s, is when they started brewing something called beer. Now they did that as it was a twofold thing, because they had so much husk and of the waste from the barley that they used to grow, because barley being the main crop, that they used to ferment it. They used to store it, and then they found out that that beverage that they made after fermenting that could be a supplement or could be a substitute for water, for clean drinking water, which was not quite available back then. In fact, the Dark Ages were plagued by waterborne diseases, and it caused a lot. It caused an entire portion of our history. The entire portion of history is called the Dark Ages because there's not much we know apart from the fact that illnesses spread throughout the world through waterborne diseases and was taken everywhere, not just from Europe to America, but also in Africa and Australia as well, when the first settlers came in the 1800s.
Ah,
So, so now another aspect of fermentation we know and we use every day is the curdling of milk. So lactobacilli help us in creating curd as well. So why do I say all this? Because fermentation is in and around us and always has been and always will be. So that, in fact, this entire the entire process of fermentation is the miracle that is continuing to help sustain us, along with everything else around the world, mainly fermentation, because it starts from there. What plants we grow, the amount of nutrition they're able to get is due to the hard work of these microbes, these actinomycetes, mycorrhizae, the, the nematodes, the protozoa, all of these different organisms that help us in breaking down of the matter, organic matter, into nutrition for the plants, and that's where it begins. So the miracle of fermentation is exactly that, that it is a transformative process. In fact, one of the first recorded alchemical processes is fermentation itself. And in the days where alchemy was practiced, fermentation was the core of all of their experiments, all of their, you can say, preparations, all of their tonics was created through fermentation. In biodynamic agriculture, we use fermentation in every compost preparation, starting from our the cow horn manure all the way to the valerian that we use and the cow pat pit. So speaking about that a little later, but yes, um, all of so now that we've spoken about where fermentation came from, now how do we utilize that to help us, say, in an urban environment? So currently I stay in Chennai, I stay in Navalur, and I'm staying in a place called Casagrande. It is a villa setup where there are a lot of trees, there's a lot of greenery around, but we've been blessed that way because most places are apartments, not much space there. So how do we bring fermentative processes beyond what we make for our home? One thing I didn't mention, apologies, is we're in South India. We make dosas all the time. We make idlis all the time. That wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for fermentation too. That's why we keep it outside, for that transformation to happen, for us to have something probiotic and which helps our immunity. And that is so giving. We don't even need to do anything. Just the microbes that are already present, they do the work for us. And we are, in a way, so unconscious to the fact. So this ties into what I'm saying is being present as we learn more about biodynamic agriculture, we learn to be present and to perceive our surroundings in a more conscious and mindful way. So I feel that regardless if you're in urban, if you're in a rural state, a rural setup, it really it's irrelevant. You can practice the principles of biodynamic agriculture in however little or however much ways you want. It is that flexible and it is that conscious and it is beneficial as such. So having activities, and I digress, but having activities such that even stargazing at night, and with that you'll be able to see which constellations in the moon, which that with that you'll be able to know what to plant. So certain things like that. Even small things like cowpat pit, making that would be a little bit of a task. But hey, that's why gated communities exist. It's in the name, communities. That's what we need. So, so all of this fermentation in itself is not a solo project. It's not one microbe working for one plant. There are millions of these bacteria, of these fungi, of the nematodes, protozoa, all of these, there are millions of them working constantly. So from the low temperature microbes to your to your thermophiles, all of these bacteria, they work at different temperatures to break down the organic matter differently each time. And the entire the entire name fermentation came from this Latin word fervere, which means to boil. So back then itself, realized that it doesn't require much heat. No, it doesn't require heat. You don't require to heat it that much. But the point is that fermentation, it it is an exothermic process. It releases energy. So whatever compost you do make at home, which I will detail a little bit here, and will give you the resources to practice for yourself later on in the video. So the practices that you're doing at home, make sure that they don't rise beyond a certain temperature. That's key. Making sure that it's not completely anaerobic, where there is no, there is no, there is no blockage of the air. You don't make it airtight. So don't make it airtight. When there's complete blockage of the air, the pressure is too much. So if you have a non-flexible bottle in your storage, it generally would. So, ah, make sure that when you're making anything bioenzyme, when you're making what do we do when we make dosa? We don't put it in an airtight dabba. We don't put it in an airtight container. We let some air in because when the rising happens, all the air is displaced. The same thing happens with your bioenzymes. The same thing happens when you're making valerian. That's also one of the preparations we're using, mainly for phosphorus. But we don't make those the fermentation. The fermentation does not happen in a sealed airtight container. And like with any fermented process, when we're adding, it needs the kind of nutrition already present. So what gives it? Organic matter. Yes, certain bacteria take down the glucose directly. Ah. Am I audible now? Is
Yes,
it better now?
yes, better.
Okay.
Yes.
So, so the bacilli generally would have sugars, and sugars are present in all matters and all forms in organic matter. So we know that just bacilli, no, even fungi, mycorrhizae. So they create the pathways for the fluid travel and the nutrients to travel into the root. And then we've got the protozoa. Protozoa are very important. Now, I know that most of us just forget about protozoa after drawing that particular one, the one with the cilia, a nice shape like this.
Yes, I do remember
So,
this.
yeah, so the reason why they are so important is that the bacteria are continuously breaking down all of the nutrients and are collecting it. Now, protozoa are predatory to the bacteria themselves. So as the bacteria get eaten by the protozoa, their cell membrane breaks and releases the nutrients into the soil, into the surroundings for plants to take. That is the reason why protozoa are so very important. Nematodes are simply microscopic worms. They're present everywhere, and they provide for the healthy transfer for the plants as well of nutrients. But all of this is how fermentation works in a very broad spectrum way I've just mentioned. So from from its humble beginnings, from barley, from our own rice, from rice to dosa batter, to fermented rice in various ways. When you make ganji, kanni, kuru, ganji, kanni, kuru, there's a lot of different terms, but it's the same thing. When you're fermenting rice water, you are creating a probiotic that is going to help you in your immunization and help you boost your immune system and also provide good bacteria for your gut in case you have any indigestion or any problems with digestion, and in your intestine as well. So those good bacteria help combat the ones that are actually impacting you negatively. Hence, you don't need to rely on stuff like antibiotics at times because it's in the name. Let's see. When we when we're speaking of urban gardening, I come back to this, and I heard a lot of mentions about how to use fermentation in urban gardens. We can easily, not just the methods that we use, because I've only spoken mostly about semi-aerobic fermentative methods, but also in the making of compost. And this especially, primarily, I'd like to stress when you're making compost, you can make it in any container you want, in any container you want, as long as it is semi-permeable at the top when you're sealing it. And the different combinations, specifications, you can actually play around with that. But if you follow the simple practice of making sure that whatever you're composting, if it's liquid, you stir it once or twice a day and make sure that you're sealing the cloth such that flies and other visible insects don't go into the mix. When it's solid, you just need to make sure that it's drenched enough, because anything that happens within the soil creates, we know fermentation is what? It creates energy, which means an exothermic reaction releases heat. Hence the term fervor, to boil, because it creates that. So in the creation of heat, we make sure that we cool it down so that the rest of the bacteria which is already present can have its cycle as well. Now, in temperate regions, you'll find that we don't need to drench the compost as such, because there are chilly periods in the entire day at times and for months. So in fact, warming them up is the issue that they have in places such as Finland and Norway and the Netherlands. Keeping the compost warm to keep it alive is their major difficulty, is a major difficulty for them that they have to really focus and care about. Here it's the inverse. Making sure that we don't cook the compost and cook all the living beings that are in it by making sure that they're under 70 degrees. Preferably 65 to 75 degrees. Less than that would be great. But making sure that it doesn't rise above it. Whichever compost that you're making with, which is more solid than liquid, making sure that their temperatures are, even if the liquids, making sure that the temperatures don't rise above that is ideal. So let's get to talking a little bit about what we can do in the home. But before that, I have a particular thing I'd like to share. It's a small video. I have a particular video I'd like to share. It's it's a small, it's just clips and snippets of what we use in biodynamic agriculture. And of course, the resources are free to use and are found online. The links I will be giving at the end.
Lohit, Nidhi has
Yeah.
something to ask. She has raised her hand. Nidhi has something to ask.
Wonderful. Yes.
So I would want to know two things. One is, um, for these compost, what the preparations you will be sharing today, do we need those special containers, those mud or clay pots that come? I mean, they have that thing. If something gets prepared on the top, it goes down and things like that, or it can be done in any container, providing the fact that it should not be airtight, like you mentioned, or if we can make some holes, or so that the gases are released. Second is, how do we ensure that the temperature is not going beyond 70 or something? I mean, do we have to keep checking that temperature again and again? Because I don't think we have those tools. And Delhi or Gurgaon being so hot and humid, I mean, the temperatures varies a lot here. What are the things we need to keep in mind? So yeah.
Thank you for that question, because that ties neatly to what I was going to say. So yes, you can use any containers that you have, preferably that do not leach any chemicals. So you can say hard plastic fibers that are even that there are particular grade of plastic that is there that don't leach the chemicals into what you're growing. Especially for agriculture, there are pots that don't leach the chemicals. You could use those as a last resort. Clay pots work. Concrete also works. As long as there are holes in the bottom and top, you can use any container that you find. That is a given. So I can say that resolutely it works. The more compost you make, the better. However, you make it, to make sure that it's not airtight and to make sure it's about the 65 to 75 degrees. It is more a sense of it. You can work with it in the sense that recently, for example, when I was in Gurgaon last month, the temperature shot up to 53 degrees. So the compost I was making, as long as it's around the same temperature as it is outside, when I'm exiting the house and then I'm feeling in the compost, it's slightly warmer than that, is good. So in higher temperatures, it's a little easier to regulate because you can feel it. The amount of heat that it radiates from the core outward is quite a lot, in the sense that it is radiating, like how you would next to the stove or next to a fireplace, and you keep your hands out and you feel warm. When we create compost, the entire process of creating compost, we add a stick in the middle so that we can shift that around and then reach in a little bit to check how hot the core of it is. So generally we do that. So that's the way we measure it. So that's what I meant by enhancing our perception. We find you can get a thermometer and you can also use that. That also works. But as you said, it's not really something that would work long term, because then it's not your perceptions that are being enhanced. You're using the tools, sure, as a guide, definitely. But after a while, it's easier on you also, that you don't rely on other things. You'll have more reliance on your own processes and your own being. So in that sense, it is always good to have an idea in the beginning, but then after that, slowly get used to knowing your garden, knowing the compost, or being with that. So I hope that answered your question. Is that okay? The the kinds of compost you can make, that's what we'll be getting into near in a little bit of time. I just wanted to share. Yeah. So thanks, Nidhi. Thanks for the question. So any other questions anyone has anytime, you can always raise your hand, and we'll answer. I'll be able to answer that. Yeah. So let's see.
I have one more question, sorry. Just wanted to know, are you sharing BD 500 preparation also here, or we are just doing the basic?
I I would need another session for the field
BD
preparations,
500.
because they do involve certain elements that I want to talk about. Like for example, this behind me about the calcium and silica. We just have a slide folder here. I've kept it here for now. So this process is something that I wanted to talk about for later, because the topic mainly was how to bring composting home.
Yeah.
So no, so you if
But
you're adventurous enough,
is BD 500 also being at home? I mean, because we are reading that we are, I mean, I'm part of this agriculture reading session and we are reading about BD 500 and, things like that. So, while reading, we were curious to know that, is it only being used on farms extensively, or, when you have a bigger area to be covered, or it can be used, or it is beneficial to, create or use such preparations for home gardening or, home stuff? Because it's very, we are very curious to see and know how it works and how it is being done. So yeah.
so as I mentioned previously, good question because that's literally what I was going to say. Um, let's see. It's also part of this. No, that's what I also want to share. So thank you for that. It's here in Casa Grande, in this gated community that I'm staying at, and I'm staying in my mentor Dr. Lakshmi Prasanna's house. So this is her place, and she's graciously been opened out to all of us in the youth section to come and help out and contribute here when we're staying here. So my contribution here to this gated community is we apply BD 500, 501, and CPP every other month, especially on the moon opposite Saturn day. And the point is that communities, gated community. So we bring in everyone. We make a nice event out of it. There's singing. There's the children here present. The buckets being taken and stirred. All of them come together. All of us come together. We have currently 9 or 10 families living in this gated community who are working in an anthroposophical element or the other, either curative, walled off, or biodynamic. Admittedly, I'm currently the only one here who's worked in biodynamic agriculture primarily, but we do have educators of art. We do have educators in the main lesson blocks in Waldorf, in the schools nearby, like Tatva School, and we also have members of the faculty who are from, and also one founder of VXL, the Kaleidoscope Learning Center in Chennai, in Mylapore. So so all of us together, we come together and we do this every month. So this is a rhythm that we practice in the urban setting, and we go around with a guitar. So one of our members, Neha, she takes the guitar with me, and as I'm spraying, she'll be singing, and we'll be singing along as well. So this is something it's a rhythm that we started a year ago, but I feel like this can be practiced everywhere. We can do it.
Can we, I mean, are people invited to be part or to see these practices, as in, as a guest, if I would want to come and participate, or, would want to see and experience it, is it a possibility?
That happens as a, by the way, I know it happens on its own. If you'd like to join. Because the kids around who don't know anything about it, they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like,
Doing.
so I'm telling them, I'm giving food for your plants. That's basically it.
Yeah.
I'm giving more food, more nourishment for them. Then
I
no,
think
then
the
what?
entire experience is something, I think I would want to experience it, because I understand anthroposophy is more about experiencing and not just theoretically understanding the facts and the figures and everything. So, yeah, I think that's why I asked that, if anyone in anytime we can, I mean, you can let us know if when are you doing it, or, we can plan, or we can see if I can.
Sure,
I mean, I would love to experience it. That's my question, that, if we can.
sure, Nidhi. Sure, Nidhi. Next time when they are planning, I'll ask them to put in the biodynamic group so that anybody who is interested can join in. Hope that will be
Sure.
okay with you, Lohit.
Sure. Anyway,
Yeah. See, when you're saying
That's
itself,
really
it's
good
like a
to know.
heaven. When you're saying those things, no, it was a visual which is like a heaven for me. So it's so good.
Yeah,
Everybody
that's
can
what I
join,
can
experience
sense
it.
it, but I would want to experience it. That's the only thing. Yeah.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Hello.
Yes, may I know your name?
I'm Arvind, ma'am. Like I'm a teacher at a
Yes,
word school
Arvind.
in
Yes, Arvind. Yes.
Hyderabad.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the option of the raising hand part. I'm logging in from my mobile.
So you're working in Hyderabad, is it?
Which school, sir?
Sloka, sir.
Sloka.
Ah,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah. Good morning.
I'm looking into the farming part for the grade 3 curriculum. Luckily, we got permission from the school to do a crop cycle with paddy.
Mhm.
But the helping hands we have at school, they're bent upon trying to convince me and the school authorities saying that without any additional chemical agents being added, we will get a good harvest of paddy. And
No.
this patch where we have already started with the greens, and we are moving on to the vegetables. We have started that process also, but I was able to convince the school authorities, and we have started with the paddy, this thing. The sprouting and this thing has been already done. But I actually joined this meeting so that I can get little guidance where I can do it in an organic way, because I don't want to use any pesticides or any chemical agents in front of the children, because I like, how can we go about this process doing it in an organic manner is my question. Whenever you have time, I'm there.
Feel like I could address that right now. So,
Oh, please. Thank you so
yes,
much.
because the topic I also that I would wanted to just share, and again, I'm so glad that there are no coincidences in life. Beautiful timing for your question, because that is literally what I was going to share now.
Oh,
Is
lovely.
so this is yes. So there's this particular thing that we do. So we are doing farming as well in our school, but these are just applications you already see in the media. Just wanted to show once more. This is what we do by BD 500, making the cow horn manure. And this is in Tatva school. We just started their farming block, gardening block. But this, if you could screenshot this one bit, that should help in providing at least compost element. If you've not made compost already, this is just what we use, what we use as the blueprint for making compost. Now, again, I wish I could reach my hands through, hold all your hands, and we can go together and make compost together, and that would be amazing. Because every single time we make compost, magic happens. It's like transformation happens not, we're starting the process of transformation within the organic matter, within the compost heap. And while we do that, something inside us transforms as well, each and every time. Sometimes it's very little, something so small, it's unconscious, something that you can't really perceive. But then over time, you slowly, as you keep doing, you become more conscious of slowly things transforming on their own within you. As you keep doing it, as you get more proficiency in it. So this is how it works. This is what I was talking about, the fermentation process. This is what I was saying, where all of the microbes within the cow dung are given the nutrients that are given, the food it requires, the organic matter it requires to break down, and does it so well. But with our support, it can make it much more wholesome, much more holistic, and is the attractor that brings in all the nutrients from outside. So one corollary to this, along with all the solid manures I've spoken about, and one liquid, the valerian that we spoke about, there is such a thing as liquid manures. Now, liquid manures, and this video I will be sharing, this is resourced from Haikaka Krishi Kendra, where we had done our foundation of biodynamic agriculture and vegetable gardening course. And that's where I've learned from Sarvadaman Patelji himself that you don't need chemical fertilizers for rice. And practicing biodynamic farm right now, which right now in Trichy is growing 4 different kinds of rice, including ponni and jirga samba as well, and red rice. They're growing all of that organically. No, not an ounce of chemicals required, needed, wanted. And they're using these. So I don't want to talk too much about it as it's already. I don't want to talk too much about it as it is already pretty much clear on the video on the screen share. But one particular thing I'd like to say is if you want potassium and you're worried, you don't want about the bat tongue, and this was pre-COVID times, so I just want to say you can use bananas instead. So bananas provide if not the same amount per weight class, it's a little less definitely, but it is much more prevalent and abundant. And considering the entire this scale of what you can use by scale of getting bananas or procuring bananas in India, I am definitely sure you'll be able to use bananas in your dung, in your liquid manures. So this is generally what we supplement organically or organically to make sure that we don't use chemicals. This is one part. The other is this. This is pest repellents. Now, pest
Yeah,
repellents wise,
Nidhi has a doubt, and myself too. Like
okay.
you're saying about bananas, okay?
Yes.
Like any kind of bananas can be used, or again, there is some variations in it which can be like, that is one doubt. Another one is, what about aloe vera and things that also they use, right? So I have seen in few places they were using aloe vera and things. So I just want to know about the difference.
Yes, you can. Yes, yes. The answer is yes. You can use. For bananas, we have the worry that they have pesticides that they apply and the fertilizers they use. The pesticides what are applied, you can wash them off with an application of water and baking soda. That washes off the pesticides, and then soaking the bananas in water for 2 to 3 hours releases the potassium into the water itself. And this is a practice that I do daily. So if we collect the bananas and then we soak them in water, again in a semi-airtight but not quite airtight, just a closed lid is fine. Keep it for 2 to 3 hours, and then after that, you just pour that water directly in a bucket, dilute it 1:2 or 1:3, and then we just apply it into the fields. That gives the potassium for the plant. Apply it into the garden. So that is, yes,
Are we just
is
talking about the banana peel or the whole of banana?
the peel. The peel.
Just the peel. Okay.
Just the peel. I mean, we need some potassium too. So it's that fair share thing that we have. So
So,
no.
yeah.
Yeah. So aloe is also good. Aloe can be used as well. Generally, we would not use the aloe. I use mainly for transplanting because that application in making, nutritive supplements or bioenzymes, I would use the peel again because it has much more beneficial usage when you're using it to transplant or even heal pruned branches. When you're applying a small mix of, if you can, red soil compost, cow dung, or even little compost, cow dung, and aloe, if you're coating your cut part, which you're putting into the soil, you coat that area with aloe for about half an hour, and then you let it sit with the aloe inside the soil when you're transplanting. It works wonders on your plants, whichever your cuttings you want to transplant. And that works in with this because your glycidia, your neem, your casuarina, all of those are cutting. You can get them from cuttings. So you can use aloe for these cuttings as well. And glycidia, casuarina, they grow very fast. They're very fast growing trees. And glycidia has so much abundance of nitrogen filled leaves as well. So these leaves are very good for making compost and also for keeping as tree cover in farms that I mentioned that you're mentioning. And So this is for pest control as such, but here we go. So this is my you can say my go-to. This has always been my go-to. So downscaling this is you can easily downscale this. It takes lesser amount of time as there's lesser transformation, the lesser materials to transform. So we generally would use this method. So you can downscale this to make it in an urban state, urban environment. It's saying use a 200-liter drum. You can work with a 20-liter bucket, making sure that it's one of those hard plastic and not the buckets that get leached in the sun. That don't no, the ones that actually are resistant to heat would be good. Um, so the So with the oil cake, seaweed, anything, again, a coconut fiber pouch, or even if you can, an organic, what do you call it, a cloth fiber that is not synthetic, that would also help. Jute bags are the best, and nowadays you find so many on the market, so many different kinds of jute bags. That is one of the best things you can find for making this particular kind of liquid manure, because it is breathable enough that there is interplay between what is in the jute bag and the bucket, but also there is the less risk of it degrading on its own, because jute on its own is one of the toughest organic fibers around. People have excavated jute clothes, clothes made from hemp. So, and they're still, they didn't tear as easily as anything else that was just dissolved over time. So hemp ropes, those are still found buried under the soil. Even after 50 years, you'll find them. They have fraying, but they still are tough. They don't degrade that quickly. So that is something you could look at and use. So this is the general. This is, if you can take a screenshot of this, fine. The video will be available. Also, this particular video will be available after the session. But this is what I wanted to share with you. This and
Yeah, Nidhi, you have a doubt, and Pavanji, can please hold after Nidhi ask a doubt. You can talk to Lohit. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think one of my question was the same, is it the whole banana or just the banana peels? Also, the name you're mentioning here, these are the scientific names, because few of them are like, I've never heard what these plants, or or is there some other name so that I can understand if you have some pictures? Uh, I don't know, but yeah,
yes,
that
we can definitely
that
provide some pictures. This was just to start the engagement, yes. But
okay.
yeah, I can
Okay.
definitely provide some images on how they look and where they're prevalent. The trees,
Yeah, and
Calvenia,
the things
yeah.
that you have mentioned, like seaweed and the other, are these locally available anywhere? We need to use one of them or all of them? I mean, I don't know. I mean, the slides that you have shared, it said that, seaweeds, and in
Mhm.
this last slide, you said something for leaves and flowers. So,
Hmm.
um, I mean,
So
I'm not getting the clarity. Are these all the ingredients are required for the preparation, or these are the options that if this is not there, then you can use this or this or this?
yes,
And
okay, yes,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, Nidhi.
yeah, so I'm just trying to understand the whole process, what we have to do, because reading something and doing is very different, and when you see it and you understand it, it's very different. So I'm just trying to rack my brain around and see how it is. I mean, how I'm going to do it. It's like that. So that's what a bit confusing for me right
So,
now.
yeah, thank you, Nidhi. So what I understood is like, Lohit, a few of us here are not able to go with this technical names and this chemical names and things.
Mhm.
So you told you will be sharing the video, right? So if you can, in the video, if you can explain us what is the quantity we have to use and how it looks, and is everything is needed, or these are the main ingredient which is needed. So if you can guide us through, that will be great, is what Nidhi was saying. Yeah.
Yes. And in fact, if you can give me exactly 10 seconds, I will bring that to you. We made it as well. But before I go, I can tell you this. What I showed in the video, I showed options. So for pest control, it showed options of marigold, of neem. So those are options that you can put, what is available around. When I'm talking about no, and all of the different other ones that you saw for nitrogen, for phosphorus, those are options as well. So you can put one of each, you can put only some, but that you need a little more, you look a little deeper. Because if there's lack of nitrogen, then you'll find that there's discoloration of your leaves, there's just veins happening, but the leaf is getting paler. If there is less phosphorus, you'll find that the edges, there'll be a little shriveling happening at the edges of your leaves, and it'll be either orangish, reddish, or purplish. So there's a lot of factors that need to be looked at generally, but that's why we use one of each, so that it gives a more broad spectrum nutritive supplement for the plants, that they don't lack in any of the elements or any of the trace elements that are required.
So for
So
phosphorus, like you mentioned that you soak the banana peels for 2 to 3 hours in water, and then you can use that water in your plants.
yes.
We need to do this every day, or it has to be done like alternate days, once in a week. What is the frequency? With what frequency we have to use these things in our plants?
So you can use it if there is a lack of potassium. You can use it, like I was using it daily for I've been doing it for the past month. I've been just whatever fruits we use, those peels I've been washing, and I've been soaking them in water. And your fresh vegetables as well, the peels that are there. Nothing
But
cooked. You
the
can soak them in
pesticides
water.
also will also get into water solution, isn't it?
No, but
If I'm
running
using
water.
the peels of my fruits and I'm soaking them in water, their pesticides that is being used on them will also get released in the water, isn't it?
Pesticides getting used on them with release in the water. But the point, yeah, it would. But what we're working with when we're working with the baking soda, what it does is generally it causes that reaction to make sure that it turns into salts, and also which is easier for the bacteria. There are bacteria that have evolved to the point where it breaks down certain salts made
So we
from,
need to soak them in baking soda wala water
yes, and then after that wash it under running
for
water.
3 hours.
Oh no, while washing, you soak for about 5 to 10 minutes max,
Okay.
and then you take that out, and then you wash it
Okay.
under running water, and then you can use it in pure water for 2 to 3 hours.
Oh, okay. Now this is this
Thank
gives us
you. Thank you
this
for
gives the
answering that.
clarity, because then it's like all gone, like pesticides are also going, phosphorus is also going, and everything is going. And you're saying that we need to we need to give this water to our plants every day.
Yeah. No need every day. You can do it even once in 2 to 3 days. For me, it's a daily rhythm because I work in a school, and we work with the
You
children
have
on
a
the
huge,
spectrum.
yeah,
So
place.
it's just a natural thing. 2 minutes in the morning, and then after that it soaks for 3 hours, and then at lunchtime we're able to apply it. No, or
Right.
even in the evening we're able to apply it. So it's just a natural rhythm in my own personal life. But you can generally the soaking and using, we do it about 2 to 3 days, every 2 to 3 days.
Okay.
With
And
the
how much quantity of water? Like half a bucket, 500 ml, 1000 ml, and that has to go equally in all my pots, or what's the quantity, or there's no quantity, it doesn't matter, just the small portion, if I give little bit of water, is also sufficient.
the more exacting, it's better to give no, not too much, but moderate water. So I would say depending on the size of your pot, depending on the size of your plants, and you'll be able to see whether it needs more than 1 mug or less than. If you're having microgreens or stuff that are tinier, like smaller in size, if you're going lentils or any form of microgreens, then any form of microgreens, then you'll need a little less. But if you're growing larger plants like frangipani, you have your ornamentals, you have sitafal, you will be putting at least about half a bucket of water there, right?
Okay.
So it depends. If you're having more fruit, then you can make more of it. If you're having less fruit, you can make less of it. And all of it is beneficial. So overwatering is something to look for. So
Yeah.
make sure that doing the watering, you do it appropriately such that you're not overwatering your plants. So the more time, the more care, the more attention you have, like the nurturing aspect, and the better your daily, like your rhythms. Etheric is that. Etheric is purely how well you're able to maintain consistent rhythms consciously. And a strong etheric has a stronger, more mindful and more consistent rhythms. And that the plants literally feed off of that energy as well.
So
And they grow immensely.
I have a question. I'm sorry, I'm just asking so many. I don't know if I'm the only one here, so confused or so many thoughts in my mind. But I'm sorry if I'm not breaking the flow you want to follow. Maybe
Oh,
I
no.
can ask later.
But it's all right. I think Mr. Pawan has been waiting for a while. Maybe we
Okay,
could
yeah,
look back, like we'll see what
sure.
Mr. Pawan has to say. But yes, keep
Thank
those
you.
questions, hold those questions very tightly, because
Yeah.
we need
Thank you, Nidhi.
all of these questions.
So
Thank
actually, I
you.
want everybody to ask questions like Nidhi does, so that all the information goes for everybody. So it's not just Nidhi. The doubts Nidhi asked, I also had. So it works for me as well. Thank you, Nidhi. And I think Pavanji is waiting for such a long time. Yeah, moving to Pavanji. Pavanji,
Yeah.
you have any question?
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, Ji.
Yes,
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 Ji.
Pawan.
Okay. I don't have anything to say. I don't have anything to ask because Roshan has said it all. And well, it's a wonderful presentation, Roshan. I learned something from you today also about washing of the peels with the baking soda. I wish my daughter could have also joined, but today she's at Lonavala. She has missed it. Okay. You would have been a better advisor to her than me, to be very honest.
Oh, please. Pawanji, the
Thank you,
man who
Pavanji, for
is there.
joining us. Thank you so much.
No, really, thank you so much for your
Can
presence.
can I add
Yes,
two
Bhavana.
things if it
Um,
is helpful? You have very nicely spoken about the fermentation, and you have talked about the aerobic and the anaerobic ones. My experience goes like this: that if Roshan permits, of course, when you are making a liquid manure, we usually try to do stirring. But one device which I have also used is the aquarium the aerator that we use in the aquarium.
hmm, yes.
You just put it inside the liquid manure and put it on, and you have the aerobic fermentation taking place. I think
Thank you
Roshan
so
will
much,
feel that.
Pawan. That was
And sec-
perfect.
and second
It worked. Yes.
and second thing, because I have found the difference between the aerobically fermented stuff and the anaerobically putrefacted stuff. There's a big difference. So this Roshan will explain later on. One thing only I would like to add, and that's the last one. While I make liquid feed, I've been using the rice starch.
Yes.
We use the rice starch. Along in that, we use whatever have Roshan has suggested and all that. And you use this method, I think you will have wonderful results. And when we are talking of nutrition and all that, besides nutrition, we also need the energy. Roshan
Yes.
would know more about it when we are talking of energy. I'm not talking of the materialistic energies. Thank you, Roshan, so much.
Thank you
Great
so
learning.
much,
Please keep
Pavanji.
it up.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Pawan.
so much for sharing all your experience and guiding us. Thank you so much. Roshan, you want to say something?
Yes.
Please.
My immense gratitude to Pawan Singhania ji, who through wonderful moments in fate and magic, miracles in itself, because my mentor Jakes has worked very extensively with Pawan ji, and they have been instrumental in providing India with biodynamic agriculture, because they also were there when Peter Proctor arrived and disseminated this knowledge back in the 90s, the early 90s. So
I'm
they have
having
been
that. I'm having goosebumps.
No, it is due to the foundations that you have all laid for us that we are able to continue. So thank you so much for being here,
Thank
and
you so much.
definitely beautiful inputs, because those are very practical, efficient, and they enrich and maximize the kind of work the nutrition that we're trying to provide. Thank you so much for this.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And Bhavana, you can ask you a question. Bhavana also has something to ask. Bhavana?
Hello,
Yeah,
Yes.
Bhavana.
Good
can
morning.
you hear me?
Yeah, clear.
You are audible, yes. You are muted now. Yeah.
Oh, is it okay now?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, good to go. Yes.
Yeah. So I want to ask this for the banana peels. You have told that we can, water them every day. So isn't it phosphorus will be too much for the plants, like for the, like if we are watering every day?
Yes, it can be. But the land that I am working on has the deficiency, like I mentioned, about phosphorus and nitrogen deficiencies. The reason why I'm putting bananas daily is because there's a potassium deficiency. That place was
Okay.
incredibly, till very badly, and there was a lot of chemicals used before. So I'm just doing that as a supplement till I'm able to see, even in the weeds, that
Mm.
there are no deficiencies as such. So the same with weeds, for that matter. Any weeds that you're seeing that are growing in your pots or in your garden, soaking them as well, adding them to your liquid manure is a very good
Mhm.
idea, because those are the indicators of what is actually missing, what chemicals are missing, what elements are missing in your soil. And some
Okay.
weeds grow in a highly acidic, and they provide
Mhm.
the basic nature for the plants, for the soil. And some weeds grow in basic soil, not too basic, but yes, in neutral and basic soil, but also provide the elements that are required for plant nutrition. So always adding your weeds into your, apart from Parthenium, make sure that you're not putting Parthenium. It is not a native weed. It is, in fact, um, only recently we found it has a slightly medicinal purpose, but it generally, once it flowers, we can't use it for any nutrition. But I hope that answered. We make sure we are observing, that we are present and we are conscious. So the more present and conscious we are of what our plants require,
Mm.
and the easier it will be able to work. So my practice of the bananas daily is not going to continue for more than about maybe one more month. And then I
Okay.
can stick to my every 2, 3 days or every week for that matter.
So this
So
is this one more question I have. Like, maybe we are not living in the farms, and like, we are mostly in urban setup where we have just pots, um, and in pots. So we need to first figure out like what is the like whether the soil is alkaline or acidic. That we need to figure out, or we can just figure it out with the weeds, that this is the weed which is coming up and this is the weed. I'm sorry I'm asking these kind of questions because I'm new to, you know, putting up things, and I'm just started taking care of some plants, right now in my life. Like,
okay. No, there's no problem at all.
hmm,
If you want to find out the pH of your soil, there's a simple, nice experiment, that even we work with children with this. We take some of the soil, we powder it, and we add it to water in a mug. We added small mug, and then we stir it very nicely, very briskly. And then if you take you stir it very briskly, counterclockwise and clockwise as much as you can to make the particles to break down the particles as much as possible. Then when we add one of the litmus papers that we find, we just
Right.
dip that paper and we find, and instantly we'll know if it's acidic, highly acidic, or if it's mildly acidic, or if it's neutral or basic. This is a small thing that we do with children here. Like it is to find out. And it was a good experiment also, just to check. Because it's best to have a slightly acidic soil, no, for plants.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you,
And I
Bhavna.
want, just one more question.
Yeah, please,
Pavanji
please go
was
ahead.
talking
Sorry.
about rice starch, that rice starch we are using. So rice starch can be given, like if you ferment the rice starch, it can also be given to the plants?
Yes. Yes. The same good
Okay, but
bacteria that work on us, the same
mhm,
lactobacilli. No. Yes,
cool.
you can.
Cool. Yeah,
Dilute
that's what I
them.
was trying to do it. But when you said that,
Yeah.
we just need to segregate the cooked part and the,
Yes.
uncooked part. So that we just need to keep it separate. That's,
Please do not use cooked and uncooked together. In fact,
yeah,
avoid
that.
using cooked food in your compost at all because most of the nutritive aspect is gone. Now, the water that you used for cooking or boiling or anything, please
Right.
add that and dilute that and pour that into the plants as well because that contains the nutrition that the plants need more than what you boiled. So, yes.
Yeah, so that's what basically we do is like all the dals and anything, whatever comes in our house, and we soak them in the water which comes out of that, and even the rice which you boil it, and the water which comes with the boiling, that
Yeah.
also we use. Like if we ferment it in a bucket and then, let it go and then we put it in the plants. That's what
Well,
I was doing it just like that. I didn't
yes.
know much about it. But thank
Also,
you.
yeah, thank you, Bhavna. But
Mm.
also wanting to share a couple of things that you can do at home. Making a paste of chili, garlic, and you can say chili, garlic, little pepper, and ginger.
Ginger.
Try and make them as even portions as possible. Make a paste out of that and squeeze out that water afterwards. Tightly squeeze that out. You can tie it in a cloth bag, soak it in a bucket of water. Let it ferment.
Okay.
Let it soak for about couple of days, even 3 to 4 days. And we're not asking about a big bucket, we're talking about like mini buckets, about less than 5 liters once you got. So, soak any of your rice that you haven't used overnight in preferably an earthen pot or a porcelain pot. And in the morning, you'll have your starch. That also works. Or if you're boiling rice, the water that is there in the boiled part of the rice, that's how you also get starch from rice. Thanks for the question. Yeah.
And look, could you be able to send us something like how you are telling us this, that this is the quantity you need to take or something, like
Mhm.
even for the beginners, who are just like I was introduced to biodynamics by you guys,
Mhm.
just 2 months back, and that's how we have started doing something or the other in our small things. And if you can share certain things like this with us, so that we can start doing it on a smaller level, at our levels, and then I don't know where it takes.
Yes, definitely. And that is also something I will be adding today. Be making those PDFs and sending them to you. But no, we'll on everything that's been spoken here on what is practically applicable in your own homes, and you can start effective immediately. So those definitely we will be sharing in bit.
Yeah,
So
yeah, Lohit. Pavanji also want to share something. He's raising his hand regarding this.
Thank you, Rohit.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. It is a matter of a dilution. But
yes.
once it so happened that when I was using this liquid feed and I went to the farm and rather literally I scolded my farmers, why have you used urea? Why have you, sir, we have not. But I
Mhm.
cannot because when you have excessive nitrogen, then you have a
Yes.
bluish green color of the leaf.
Yes.
Then you must have. I said, no, sir, we have just used the fermented product that you have asked me. Okay. Then I said, okay, then you reduce the dilution. So
Yes.
here I would like to give little, like when you're making a liquid feed, concentrate, a liquid with concentrate. So I
Yes.
normally would use it a 1:9 ratio. Take one part of the fermented stuff of yours, use 9 parts of the water, and
Water.
regulate your frequency. And I think that should do the job.
It's
Thank you.
better to err on the side of caution. Even if you're not sure 1:9 parts, if you're using more water, it's safer that way instead of less. Definitely.
Ankush is also having a question. Ankush, can you share your question?
Yes. Thank you for the opportunity. So basically, I had few questions. I was hoping that number one, I would get like a biodynamic 500 series, whether the intro to sort of how to make that. I was hoping that to get in this class. Uh, that's one. And number two was when you said about aerobic and anaerobic fermentation. When we use aerobic, when we use non-aerobic. That was my second question. Number three was like you said about Parthenium. Like in one of the farm, like Parthenium has come to a seed level. What is the best way to sort of tackle it? That's one. And the next one was if let's say some of the fermentations, like is it a good to use, not good to use? Is there any indicators like that? Or we can just use it without any harm? These were the few questions. There's one more, maybe I'll ask later.
Okay. So let's see in order. The BD 500 and 501. I want to start another introductory series because a lot of members in our group have joined recently, and for them having this primer again, starting it from the start is a good idea as well. I felt so. In that, I'll be talking about what it is and the preparations themselves. How to make them is it could be the next session. Please share that in the group, and we can make a session just on that. How to prepare BD 500, 501 CPP and the compost heap, which are the four main things I would like to share about how to prepare. So those four. That isn't quite visible.
I don't know if you can see this. Maybe I'll share this in the group later. I
Yes.
took a screenshot from the YouTube video 500 series and its use. Since then, I've been trying to learn to talk about it, understand about it. I'll share that in the group.
Will do. And yeah, got that, Ankush. And anaerobic and anaerobic. So in biodynamic agriculture, we use a mixture of both. So even in our CPP, even in our compost heap, the point is there is anaerobic processes happening throughout, but also once every while, about 45 days, 1 month, we keep turning over the entire heap or turning over the CPP to allow for aerobic processes to allow for the oxygen also to come in. And some preparations require both the aerobic and anaerobic. But most of our compost preparations, most of our both field preparations, they both are generally anaerobic. They are under the soil. So not any direct, uh, no contact with oxygen per se, above soil oxygen per se. So that way.
Basically, the rule is if you're applying under the soil, it has to be anaerobic. If it is above the soil, it is aerobic.
When it's not in direct contact with oxygen, when the oxygen isn't present in that sense, where it's not able to, there is no respiration that is happening as well. So that is, respiration is with air. Fermentation is the absence of oxygen. How does energy transfer to happen? How does energy creation happen? That is fermentation. And the microorganisms they create these enzymes on their own, and their metabolic processes are such that they work better in an anaerobic environment, provided they have food. Any glucose molecules, if they are more enriched in sugar, feed them more sugar, not in sugar form, but in jaggery form. And they will provide more nutrients. They'll provide more of the enzymes to transform this organic matter into nutrition for the plants. So plant food is equal to more jaggery for the bacteria and plant the protozoa and the mycorrhizae and fungi, the more nutrition they get. About the Parthenium, it is an ongoing process. There is no hard and fast way to get rid of them completely. It takes a lot of time. And I would say very mindfully taking out the sprouted plants before they flower. And it takes it. I haven't yet practiced a way to make sure that it does not come. But the point is that when you can soak them too if they are not flowered, if they haven't started providing seeds. Of, no, for that matter, the small plants, you can soak them and you can also make liquid manure out of them, and you can apply that into your farms with dilution 1:10 minimum. Yes. So that would also help in reducing it over time to the point where they won't be there. They won't grow as much as they were before. That we've seen. Where Parthenium was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, isn't anymore because of constant making liquid manure and constantly applying it, along with your CPP or BD5 and sequential sprays. Yes. But nature works one way. That's the rule, right? But the moment we force nature to act faster than it naturally does is when you have the drawbacks, and that's when you actually have the detriment. So it doesn't work fully. That's why it's an ongoing process, even in mentality. About what Mr. Pawan mentioned about energies. When I say energy is quite a bit because there are various layers we work with. Looking at I'm sure you realized in the videos and your own understanding, and I don't mean to assume, but the farm as one organism. Yes, as there is no farm without the farmer. There is no farm without the plants. There's no farm without the microbes, the trees, the water, the soil, the animals. So like that, like our body, there is no human being, there's no living being or mammal without a liver. There's no living being without the intestines, your brain. So like that. Also, the point of we're not fully aware of what happens within our body, and yet it provides us what we need to move. It provides us what we need to think, to feel, to do. So, but we do take care of our body, yes. So the same thing applies, and we are consciously taking care of our body. We keep good rhythms for ourselves. We keep ourselves healthy. We eat healthy, and we avoid things that are to our detriment most of the time. And if we fall, then we rely on some of our friends and family to support us and get through. Same way, it works even in the farm space, community. And all these different organs that we have in the farm working together, even if they don't, we're not aware of it, they're still working tirelessly and constantly. So providing them what they need also is a good thing. And that's what biodynamic agriculture does. Provides the best possible space, yes. I would say combining it with permaculture is one of the best things you can do. But yes, one for structure and the one for space, it's just magic. It's beautiful. So yeah, I hope that answered most of your questions. I think I might have missed one or two here.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful the way you put it across. I think I enjoyed the way listening to you. Yeah, it made sense more or less what you're saying. Yeah, maybe if you take step by step one of them, how to make it, that'll also clarify further.
In the practice, it gets internalized always, because if we hadn't done it these many times, if I hadn't done it this many times, then wouldn't have had the conviction to tell you.
So you wanted to tell about banana. We just put banana skin just directly without fermenting. So you just wanted to tell that.
It will decompose over time. It will ferment. The thing is, we do it consciously at home in a jar, but nature just does it automatically. It just doesn't ask also. It's like, oh, thank you so much. And then it starts. So it just keeps going. So we have been incredibly blessed as carbon-based life forms in this world. on this spaceship, and we need to realize that we are all together in this. So hopefully, I really hope that making more small communities will create larger communities. No, like because all of them will merge, join, because we all moving in the same direction. We all want good food, we want good thoughts, we want good nutrition for ourselves, our children, because in this day and age, it is really, really important to have good immune systems, to bolster our own tenacity, to have some inner strength as well, to take in what's going on outside. The world is in a very precarious and very painful place, like something is giving birth. I've never experienced this level of pain in so many different aspects, to so many different places in the world, all at once. So much. And the only thing I can relate to it is, what is the most painful moment of a human life? The most painful moment of a human life is just before birth. And it feels like that kind of pain which is happening in the world, something new is being born. Hence why that kind of pain is happening. There are no coincidences at all, zero in the world, at all. In ourselves, in our life, we are doing things not because also we want them to do it, definitely because we want them to do it, but also because it was meant to be. If it wasn't meant to be, then it wouldn't happen. As harsh and as blunt and unfeeling as that might sound, I'm saying that with all the care and concern and worry, and also love, a lot of warmth. They require that, to know that their pain is being heard and is being sensed by everyone else that is happening, not just in Europe, but also in the Middle East, also in Australia, also in Africa, in South America, in the North Americas. There is pain in different varying forms everywhere, even here in India, various parts. So addressing it, not too sure if that helps, because addressing matters didn't try to help, but sensing and being aware of it and pushing for something, for change to happen, for something, because birth is that. It is the biggest push that any woman can make. And that kind of push is something that is going to be painful, I feel. But what comes out of it should be magical. And I really do hope for that. I feel that the best thing we can do right now is consciously hold them. And how do we do that? By at least creating examples of things that work within our community, being together in any way, which is why we started doing biodynamic work together here. And I've extended it to my school now. So, and I'm sure hundreds of communities are around India, things I'm not even aware of, who have been doing this for years and years and years. Like Mr. Pawan, who I very recently met, but we've been in similar circles. Like Mr. Jakes, who even started this process for me. My colleagues, who are currently one of them in Gujarat and working, and another one in the States, and he's working, and both have come from biodynamic beginnings. One from Tablehurst Farms and one currently in California, working with their youth section there. We have friends in Camp Hill, in Bangalore, in Shloka and Abhaya School, in Indradanu, in BXL, in Golden Spiral, in Mumbai, Aram, in Delhi. All of us are a community. Sadly, actually, in a good way, we are here together and we are able to be together by by just seeing each other online. Back when Rudolf Steiner wrote Youth and the Etheric Heart, and he stressed for communities to form within the younger generation and having mentors who can guide them when needed. Back when he wrote that book, the only time they could meet was for hiking, for taking hikes, and singing. And that was a limiting space. But then he prophetically mentioned that things would get much easier, in years to come, and they have. So it is never a question of technology versus nature. It is how do we utilize technology with nature. More than cyberpunk, I must say we should try solar punk or something similar, which is beneficial. That is the only way I feel. Do check out the ad Solar Punk whenever you can. I don't know if I can give you the reference, but That is the ideal, that is my dream, honestly. That is a very fervent dream, and it's only a minute and a half long or something, and it's just an animated advertisement. But the concept, the sheer idea of it could change everything we know. It is spelled Solarpunk. It is available on YouTube. You can watch it. I forget which organization it was for, but whoever designed it and the concept, I want to speak to them. They
Lohit,
feel like our
sorry to
kind of
interrupt. Lohit, can you repeat it again? SOLAR?
PUNK. Yes. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, I have very famously not spoken much about Gaza. I've not spoken much about Ukraine. My friends hate me for it. They're like, why don't you say something? Look at us, we're putting stuff on Instagram and having a little deeper, like, having worked with anthroposophy and worked with farming, we realized that if we were conscious of all the different destructive elements happening under the soil, we would be paralyzed with terror every waking moment of our life if we were. So just if if we are conscious of all of the different protozoa destroying bacteria, eating them left, right, and center every millisecond, nanosecond, constantly, you wouldn't be able to do anything. I feel like we can understand that it happens, not accept, but understand what is happening. And then in our work, share verbally or even hold space for them. That makes a huge difference. Directed effort, conscious directed effort is what makes compost heaps that magical, I feel. Anything that you're doing which is naturally directed towards the same goal, same direction, the more number of people do it, the more energy it holds, the more we're able to transform ourselves a little more, we're able to direct our energies and channel them. So that's why I make it a point when I'm visiting schools, one of the first things we do is collect all the material for compost and make the compost heap together. Because in all those moving parts coming together and creating that heap, the children find grounding, children find emotional balances, things that causes them extreme emotions, or no, if they're suffering from what we call as an emotional isolation of sorts, or even a mental isolation, sometimes physical isolation. It happens when you give children mobile phones and screens at a young age, that their body develops a little slower than their mental processes and faculties. And there's not much, because of the constant exposure to all this emotionally inciting media, they are not ready because they're so oversensitive, so sensitized that everything is too much. So actually working with compost, working with the earth in always has been this grounding element that I feel is definitely required. And compost making is like the culmination of it. It's beautiful every single time.
Yeah. Lohit, Nidhi has a question. She was asking about what are the deficiency you can generally see and what can be done for that very type of deficiency.
Oh boy. Okay.
I know it is going to see, we have just 2 more minutes, but I know it's a very big topic to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One more thing before you start on that,
Yes, Arvind.
session is going to end. I just wanted to know whether I can reach out to Pavanji or you, because our farming, the curriculum is as such. I'll be helping children of grade 3 and other sections as well. But this process we will be continuing the whole year. So if you can provide me your contact details as and when if
Sure,
any
Arvind.
is required.
Sure, Arvind. After the session, we will be contacting you for this. Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you.
Yeah.
Definitely, Arvind. I cannot speak for Pavanji, but I'm sure I can help you, and we can speak more
Yes,
about.
mute me. I
Thank you.
can.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Let's do this.
Can
Okay.
you unmute me, please?
You're in unmute, sir. You can. Yeah.
Of course, whatever little I can help you with, I will. Well,
Thank you, Pavanji.
रोशन is there, जो कि रोशनी डाल रहे हैं. As my name is Pavan, मैं हमेशा से float करता रहा हूँ. I don't know where I will be the next moment myself, whether mentally or physically.
Thank you so much, sir.
You are a
But I
gift.
will definitely be available with whatever little I can do. Of course, I'm sure I have very bad experiences working in the school. Especially in Calcutta, we have a day boarding school. Roshan, you are fortunate enough to be working with Sloka. When in this school, there were day boarding school, there were 4,000 children.
Mm.
You know Dr. Belzer?
Heard of, yes. Yes.
He happened to visit this school once because I wanted to use this money, make these children learn about the capillary dynamolysis and all that, you know.
Mhm.
So it was a wonderful experience. But you know, the authorities heritage that the whole idea was that children will grow their own food. My wife is a diet consultant there from day one. I thought the children will have that food grown in the farm. They will grow. That will be cooked in the kitchen, and they will consume that food.
Yes.
The one of the topmost guys in the school said, ultimately, क्या heritage vegetable बेचेगा? क्या mindset था?
So
Yes, sir.
the space wasn't there for it. Understood. That's why we have to create that space first, we realized. In schools,
I will
generally,
share one of my papers with you, Roshan. Sorry to interrupt.
yes.
Life impregnation in dead. Life impregnation in dead. Because I grew this vegetable in fly ash, and I have another experience in growing plants in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
Fly ash is nothing. Ash is a residue of life,
Yes.
and desert is dead.
Yes.
Life impregnation in dead. So this paper I have once presented in one of the world conferences. I will share that with you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Definitely useful.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much,
My
sir.
friend.
Lohit, that we
Pardon
are
me.
at the end of the session actually. I
Okay.
think lots and lots has to be answered, and so many questions are coming in.
Yeah.
Everybody, please do drop all the questions in the group, and we will try to address everything now and then. And Lohit has to be answerable to this.
Yes, I will be.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
is it. Yeah, and I'm so happy to hear that Sloha has started plantation and things. And Arvind will be there with you in whatever way we could. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you, Nandini. And everybody, whoever had raised the questions. Yeah,
Nidhi,
whoever has
regarding
not, please do comment. Please do raise a question. Whatever, don't hold the question. Whatever necessary answers can be provided will be done by us. Thank you.
Jay,
We
one
will be having another session because the preparations and anything, I mean, the
Sure.
only questions has been taken. So
So the next one will have the answers then, in that case, or even preparing them. And we'll talk about the composting as well, and the field preparations, like I mentioned, BD 500, 501, compost, and CPP. That will be the focus. Is that all right? Along with the answers to all the questions.
Yes, one
We can
step
do
at
that
a time,
once
Lohit.
a week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So another 1.5 hours sometime this month, and we'll have another workshop session on same time. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's create that. Nidhi, about the last question you mentioned, we'll post it on the group, the deficiencies and how they are present, how they are seen in plants. We'll put it on the group.
okay,
Thank you,
not a
everyone.
problem.
Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you, Mr. Pavan, Arvind, Bhavna, everyone who have been here. Thank you for joining, and it has been a pleasure engaging with all of you. I hope to see you all next time as well. And I hope we all learn and practice this together. Because one thing is the theory, but actually putting into practice makes a huge difference to all of us. Thank you. Thank you all. And I hope you have a wonderful Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Push.
Jayanti, do we have our doll making session now?
Yeah, Nidhi, I'll just connect with you over the call now. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
See you, Jayanti. Thank you.
See you. See you. Bye bye.